It is straight up 3 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. And we have Ms. Michelle Snyder, who's going to give us the invocation and the pledge.
Everyone, please rise. Dear Lord, we thank you for these people here today. Please direct our lives and to serve you and to obey your commands. We ask you to bless this community. Thank you for your gifts and for the clean water you provide for us. Please give ECUA wisdom and the means to continuously improve what we offer to this community. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We move now to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Or does anybody want to add anything? Mr. Perkins?
Under unfinished business, just a brief update on the executive director search.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else want to add? Do you have a motion with the amendment or addition?
I motion we adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. And it passes 8-0. We move now to open forum. I have no pink sheets. I don't see anyone here that looks like they want to speak. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes on page 5 of the advisory meeting on September 17th. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Ms. Booker?
I second.
Thank you, ma'am. Please vote. And it passes 8-0. We move now to item F, customer service appreciation video. I think Mr. Brown has got something he wants to present to us.
Good afternoon. Last week, October 7th through the 11th, we celebrated National Customer Service Week. We took some time out just to make a short video. We posted it on our social media sites to let our customers know that we appreciate them and that they're the reason we're ECUA. So we wanted to share this video with you. You have to use the mouse, it's not a touch screen. He told me it was. Thank you. Hi, my name is Gabe Brown. I'm the Director of Customer Service. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, the customer, for supporting us. You are the reason that we're here. President George Bush signed into law National Customer Service Week, whereas we celebrate you, the customer, the first week of October. Again, thank you, and celebrate your week. Happy Customer Service Week.
Happy Customer Service Week. Thank you.
Happy Customer Service Week. Feliz Semana de los Clientes. Estamos aquí para todos nuestros clientes. Gracias.
Thank you for being our customers. We wouldn't be nothing without y'all.
Happy Customer Service Week. Thank you for being great customers.
It's Customer Service Week, and we thank you, all of our ECUA customers.
It's Customer Service Week, and without you, we wouldn't be ECUA.
We appreciate your business and thanks for being a customer.
Thank you for being our customer. We really appreciate your business.
Thank you for being a customer. It's Customer Service Week.
Happy Customer Service Week.
It's Customer Service Week. Thanks for being a great customer.
And we at ECUA are so proud to have you as our customers, and we thank you.
It's Customer Service Week. We thank you for being a customer of ECUA.
Gracias por ser nuestros clientes excelentes.
It's Customer Service Week, and thanks to you, our customers, we are ECUA.
Thanks
Week. We appreciate you.
It's Customer Service Week, and we're so proud to have you as our customer.
This is Customer Service Week, and we appreciate you being a good customer.
This is Customer Service Week, and we want you, the customer, to know how much we appreciate you at ECUA.
We just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you, Gabe. Ms. Benson.
Hi,
So-
my name is
so,
Gabe Brown, the
Mr.
Director of
Brown,
Customer.
what did we do to thank our customer service people since it was their week too?
Okay. The entire week, the supervisory staff, we served breakfast, we had lunch. We took the entire customer service staff and anyone else that wanted to attend out to Cactus Cantina for a dinner on Friday night. And we gave out prizes throughout the week.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for asking, Ms. Benson. Thank you, Gabe.
All right.
Appreciate you. We move now to item G, which is the annual renewal maintenance agreement, SunGuard Public Sector Software on page 17. Ms. Benson.
Move the recommendation, and I'd like to ask something.
Thank you.
Second.
And Ms. Ben.
Second.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Benson?
When will we be finished with this annual SunGuard renewal?
Thank you. Mr. Sorrell?
One more year, maybe two, but it's on its way out, and I knew you were going to ask that question, so I talked to John this morning, and he told me, one more year and maybe two.
Okay, good. Thank you.
They need to turn that volume down. We're getting a lot of feedback.
Thank you. I asked that same question this morning. Any further questions? If not, please vote. And it passes 9-0. We move now to item H, award of purchase for a robotic sorter. Mr. Rudd, do you want to tell us about our robotic sorter on page 21?
Certainly. We've got a couple short videos we'd like to show you to see exactly what we do right now and what we're looking at.
So that's the one that you sent for
Okay, where's the other one?
and the other one is right there.
Okay. All right. This is our HDPE, that's high density polyethylene sorting room at the MRF. Right now, as you can see, we have 4 people in there sorting the, this is basically sorting milk jugs, laundry detergent bottles, anything that's made out of HDPE plastic. That is a very high value material for us right now. So we want to have high quality so we can sell that easier on the market. So as you can see right now, that's all being sold by hand or sorted by hand. Yes, sir. Being tossed across. Okay, where's the next one?
Why is that on closing?
So this is a video from the company we're proposing to purchase the robotic sorter from. It's called Amp Robotics. Main thing I wanted you to see here in a little bit is just how the robot itself looks. But the video explains a little bit. It uses a camera system to identify the different materials on the line before it gets to the sorting robot and tells the robot which items it needs to pull off the line. The beauty of this system is speed and accuracy. A normal human sorter that just started can pull about 20 items a minute off the line. Someone's been doing it for a while, maybe 40 if they're really good at it. this robot will pull 80 items a minute off the line. So it's a huge increase in productivity and accuracy. That camera system actually scans the materials as they come across the line, identifies which items they are, even the items that it's not going to pull. So we can run reports and it shows us how much contamination is coming across the line, how much other material is getting by that point, and adjust the system throughout the entire facility. So it's a very high-tech system. This seems to be the way of the future in sorting. It is very difficult to find humans that want to do this type of work. It's dirty, hot, nasty work, and there's a high turnover. And when you get that high turnover, your quality of your baled materials decreases, and it makes it harder to market those materials. So what we're proposing to do is purchase one robot that would be on that HDP line. Actually, when the company was out here, we only had 3 people on that line. We now have 4. The robot would replace 3 of those people, and we'd keep 1 human there just to ensure everything's working the way it's supposed to. If that system works, we could replace up to 90% of the human sorters at the facility and over time, and have a much higher quality baled material at the end of the process. They come in, what you saw in the video is a single head sorter, which is what we're purchasing. They make a tandem head sorter, which are basically 2 robots working in conjunction. That we would need for our paper sorting line, just because of the amount of material that comes through. But we want to test one, see how it works, the reliability of them. We are definitely not the first people to buy these. There's a large MRF in Sarasota, Florida. They started out with 6 of them. They worked so well, they've now installed 14 more. And this is the way of the future for MRFs.
Well, and he answered one of my questions. Let me first make a motion to put it on the table. I would move the staff recommendation.
Second?
I'll second it.
Just, I guess, a couple of comments. I remember when we had West Florida recycling a zillion years ago. It didn't end well, but I went out there and there was a guy who was like the greatest second baseman you'll ever seen. I mean, he was ballet in motion doing this job, and the other people doing the sorting bragged about him. You know, he was an athlete, and it was really cool to watch. But even then, I thought, you know, athletes are not going to want to do this job. It's dirty, and so, you know, it's actually a perfect job for robotics, and I congratulate you for finding this. I hope the maintenance and all of those other things work out, because it's the way to go. And on the other hand, it scares me to death about society. And I think I said this with regard to self-driving cars. You know, we are getting rid of the jobs that most people have. We now are going to have the high-end jobs and the service jobs, and we're eliminating this. And I worry about what's going to happen to all these people, but I guess that's not in front of us today. So, but anyway, I think this is great. I think it's exactly the way we ought to be going. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Ms. Schneider.
I think it's a great idea also, and I'm going to vote for it. But I just want to understand, there are different rooms for the sorting. Like one room does the aluminum, one room does the paper and cardboard, and the other room does plastics. So we're going to have to buy different sorters for the different things that we're recycling.
Yes, ma'am. The sorter robot is the same robot. They're just programmed differently depending on the type of material that you want them to sort. And you can do that if on the line, so you don't have to change it. If we wanted to change the material that this particular robot is sorting, it's simply making some changes in the program itself.
Okay. And just a question, has ECUA ever considered using inmates from Escambia County Jail to do the sorting? Or is that just simply not an option, considering you need the same person over and over to get to that level that you need?
There are some places that use inmates for sorting. It creates a whole another type of nightmare, and
That's
they
what I thought,
typically
yeah.
are very poor quality employees.
I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Rudd, you said the current workers out there working in heat, don't the sorters work in air-conditioned
Yes, sir.
picking rooms?
We have air conditioning, but it doesn't always keep them cool in the summertime in particular. It's very dusty environment. We spend a lot of money on maintenance for those air conditioning units to try to keep them somewhat, cool. You might have noticed in the video, there's fans in there blowing just to keep as much air moving as we can. That's the other nice thing about the robots. They don't care how hot it is in there. It's easier on that equipment than it is on the personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Kimble.
What's the reliability? I assume you talked to the group in Sarasota that's using. I mean, how often do they go down, or is there? And then from a maintenance point of view, how quickly are they serviced? Do they have any experience with that?
Yeah, all of them are fairly new. We're in the first couple of years of operations, but so far the experience with them they've been very reliable. There's very little maintenance on them. There's an airline you have to clean out once a week, and the suction cup on the end has to be cleaned out nightly, but it's very minimal maintenance. And part of the sales agreement is they cover all parts and all. So they're very secure in the reliability of the equipment. If it does happen to go down, you simply push it out of the way and you bring a human back in and you go back to doing what you're doing now.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. Sorry, but
No, that's no problem. I'd already spoken. First of all, it's great operational efficiency and all of the things that you said, but boy, what a great PR opportunity. I mean, can't you see the clips we can do on our website and a news story? Because, I mean, people love robots. It would even be interesting to bring in some of those robotics clubs. There's one at PHS, and there's some younger kids who compete. And it's an opportunity for wonderful interface with the public, in addition to what it's doing functionally. So I hope we'll look at that as it moves forward.
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Mr. Kimble.
One other win is that, with the potential constitutional amendment coming out with a minimum wage raising to $15 an hour in the next few years, that labor cost of Action Labor is going to increase and think about paying someone $15 an hour to sort trash. So that's, I think this is definitely a good.
Yes, and we are experiencing shortages now where we cannot even get enough laborers to come out and do this. We've had days where the MRF didn't start for an hour after startup time because we simply couldn't get enough people out there to fill out all the slots we needed. So this will help. I mean, there will always be some positions that the robot can't, fulfill. So we'll always need some people out there.
Thank you, Ms. Ritz.
Yes. How long will it take to recoup the cost now of the robotic purchase?
Based on replacing 2 people, I believe it was about a 3-year payback. So the fact that we're now going to be replacing 3 people, it'll be even shorter than that. So it'll be less than a 3-year period to recoup the cost. And the lifespan of these robots is projected to be 10 years.
10 years. How long is the warranty on the robot that you're anticipating?
It's a 1-year warranty.
And how much is the maintenance cost after that warranty expires?
It's $18,000 a year.
We would pay 18, or at least customers, ECUA would pay $18,000 a year.
Right, and that covers all the replacement parts and everything like that. So
How are parts shipped into ECUA?
they'll ship them in overnight if needed, but yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see. I was glad to see the film because I had a question about how did the compressed air work. So I guess it's a sucking action rather than a blowing action.
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
And my other question, not meaning to put a barb at the end, but why wasn't this considered at the very beginning? Because I know a lot of diligence was put into looking for a recycling facility. And
Right,
so
well,
my thought was,
Yeah, these weren't even available when we opened the MRF 3 years ago. They've really just come online in the past 2 years. And most of the robots in operation today have just been in operation within the last year.
interesting. And the last question, what products will you be training this robotic eye to pick up?
This robot will be looking for all HDPE, which is, like I said earlier, milk jugs, laundry detergent bottles, anything that's the colored plastic or clear like a milk jug.
And what happens to the rest of the items as they go down the belt?
Well, they'll go on down and be sorted at other locations on the system, just like they are now.
Manually or by another robot?
Well, we have an optical sorter, so it sorts out PET plastic, which is like your soda bottles and water bottles, but everything else will be continue to be sorted manually.
By manual?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have a magnet right on the cans.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a magnet that separates out steel cans.
I love your questions, Ms. Ritz. My question was the same thing, how long for the payback? I was given a talk recently, and I said, every societal issue brings about new technology. And so the fact that we're having all these issues with recycle is just gonna bring more technology to the whole recycle process. So this is great, and I'm gonna vote for it. So thank you for all the good discussion. And I do have a motion from Ms. Benson and a second from Mr. Kimball, so please vote. Thank you, Randy. And it passes 9-0. We move now to award of purchase of a new and replacement vehicles for fiscal year 2020 on page 35. Do I have a motion? Do we want some more? Mr. Searle, you want to give us some more?
Yes, ma'am. Each year, the board authorizes a certain allocation of funds in order to replace particular vehicles. We then go through and look at the vehicles that we have, and we look at the mileage on them, and we look at the maintenance costs. We also look at the age, but that's not as important as the other two factors. And then we'll assemble a group of vehicles that we need to replace, mostly trucks. It's just about always trucks. And then we try to buy the amount of trucks we can within the allocation that we have from the ECUA board. In this particular case, the recommendation is somewhat normal. It's what we do every single year. And we'll go out and from the state bid, we'll find suppliers who are willing to honor those bid prices, the low bid prices, and we'll just issue awards to them for the particular trucks that we need that meets the state low bid prices. So it's pretty standard, but it's something we do every year, and it just allows us to buy new trucks primarily, some new cars, but mostly new trucks, a lot of heavy trucks based on the state bid price.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ben. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. And it passes 9-0. We move now to item J, contract extension on large-scale and emergency utility construction on page 40 of your agenda. This is a contract extension. Do I have a motion? Ms. Benson?
Move staff
Thank you.
recommendation.
And Ms. Ritz?
Second.
Thank you. Conversation, Ms. Benson?
No, not sorry.
If no conversation or questions, please vote. Thank you. One more. Everybody's green light? Or? Ms. Booker? And it passes 9-0. Those things can be stubborn sometimes. We move now to item K, which is a contract extension on roadway restoration and debris removal on page 43 of your agenda.
I move the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Ben. Any questions or comments? It's a contract extension.
I have a question.
Ms. Ritz?
On page 44, there's a line that says there are significant financial savings, and I'm curious as to the amount of the savings.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrell.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. You said something about a significant financial savings?
Supporting data, second full sentence, begins in the middle of the second line. There is a significant financial savings for ECUA when these prices are extended over time, and I was hoping to see an amount
Well,
listed.
what it is normally is when we bid out a contract like this for multiple years, if the contract is willing, well, first off, they come in low bid. So we get the lowest price we possibly can. And then if the contract is extended for 1 year or 2 years into the future without any increase in price, there's usually an automatic savings because there's no increase in price. If we had to go out and rebid it again, we probably would get a higher price. We can't tell you exactly how much, but we can usually tell you that there is a significant savings simply because there isn't any cost increases or anything involved. You're getting prices from 2 or 3 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrell. Dr. Walker?
I'd like to mention that this company is a relatively small company. I imagine it qualified as for the kinds of assistance that we offer to small companies. And so this is a successful, represents a successful application of one of our policies, which has been to try to encourage bidding for contracts by smaller companies and offering them those contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. No further comments. Please vote. Ms. Booker?
Yeah, it doesn't
Yep.
really tell you whether you voted or
I
not.
know, this new thing is different. And it passes 9-0. We move now to item L, which is an extension of chemical contract for bagged hydrated lime on page 46.
Move the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Ben.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. This is just an extension of a contract for bagged hydrated lime. If no questions, please vote. It is nice when we get these extension of contracts. With everything going up in the world, it's nice some things are staying stable. I know, you can't really tell it's lit up, can you? And it passes 9-0. 1 second. Ms. Booker. Try using this. It's a little bit better. Sorry about that. And it passes 9-0. We move now to item M, the sanitation collection vehicle route wear. Do you want to talk to us about this? Route wear, route wear. Too bad it didn't work. Where? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. as you all know, we did a pilot project for the routeware system. Initially, it looked very promising. We were excited. I know the staff was, I was. John Donna helped a lot in this process. What we found is when the system works, it was wonderful. Problem was, it didn't work all the time. There was a lot of issues with the tablets that go in the truck themselves. We had a lot of issues with the tablets buffering continuously, shutting down. Drivers have to restart the system. There's a sensor that goes on the arm that tells the system when the can's being picked up. Had a lot of issues with those as well. So unfortunately, just, we tried, the company tried multiple fixes. They tried different tablets. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And like I said, this was our fourth attempt at a technology like this. This was the most promising, but in the end, the staff and I just felt it was actually beginning to, become more of a hindrance than a benefit, and the drivers were very frustrated. They wanted it to work, but the system just was actually slowing them down rather than helping them. So we basically decided that we'd bring it back to you with the recommendation not to proceed and to transfer the funding that was earmarked for this system over to purchase of residential containers, which we desperately need.
About 7,000?
That will buy, yes, approximately 7,000.
Any?
Move the recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
Further questions? Dr. Walker?
That's too bad, and I appreciate staff giving it the big try.
And we'll continue to look and see as new systems are developed, and we'll try them out, come back to the board and let you know. But right now, I just don't think they're there yet.
So, do we have a backup plan for the problem of training drivers on routes and missed pickups? I think we all had so much hope for this.
Believe me, the staff did as well. And no, we're back to the old method of giving drivers paper maps and training them and trying to get them familiar with the areas. I know some of you are aware of it, but some of the streets our drivers have to go down, if you don't know they're there, you may never find it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spent literally an hour before looking for one street, and then to find a particular address on that street is even more difficult.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a challenge, and when you have turnover in drivers, which you all are aware, we've got a driver shortage now nationally. That exacerbates the problem, and that's what we're seeing. But right now, the best answer is to continue with what we've always done and just try to retain drivers.
So if I might continue. I know that in using GPS, there are certain places where it just don't get a signal, and I think that's certainly what, but are there areas where this can work so that we can put, I know you've thought of it, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it just, I think we had so much hope that.
Right, it wasn't so much the signal issues that were the problem, it was the tablets in the vehicle themselves. Just, a garbage truck is not a car, it doesn't ride like a car, and to get a tablet in there bouncing around on a regular basis, I think, that was a big part of the problem with the system. Like I said, the system would just continually reboot, and the driver can pick up a garbage can in 12 seconds with the automated arm. Well, if he's got to sit there for 5 minutes and let a tablet reboot, he's lost a lot of production, and that's what we were seeing, and it was just basically frustrating the drivers to the point they didn't want to use it anymore.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving it a try.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. Ms. Ritz?
Yes. Listening, something came through my mind, and I thought, the drivers' salaries. Has that been revisited to possibly look at making their salary more attractive, or the beginning salary for drivers?
Yes, ma'am. 2 years ago, we did exactly that, and we increased their incentive packages. We increased the starting rate for the salary, and we continue to have problems. I mean, it is a problem. There is a national shortage of both drivers and mechanics, and
And mechanics?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
And
sure you've worked with George Stone and.
we've tried everything. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. It is very difficult, and like Ms. Benson was saying earlier, you've got a lot of people want to go into high-tech jobs, but nobody wants to do trade work anymore, and that's what we're seeing.
Well, I was glad to see Gabe Brown highlighting the customer service. Would it be of value to look at highlighting the, what I call the worker bees in the force?
Yes, ma'am. It's something we can look at, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ritz. Dr. Walker?
I've often thought about, well, let's just raise the pay. But unfortunately, the gap between what we offer and what they can make in some of the jobs out there is such a huge gap that there's no way that what we might reasonably increase, the increases that we might reasonably offer in a year or two would have any real significance in holding on to drivers. I mean, when the drivers can go to Walmart for $80,000 a year, which is what I've heard somewhere, it wouldn't matter if we raised salaries $5,000, or it wouldn't matter much. We're just going to have to wait for the recession to make our jobs seem more attractive, or well, seriously, or the driver shortage get filled up. But raise salary increases, I'm afraid, just wouldn't do it.
Just kidding. How are we doing? Do you know, have we seen any of the graduates out of the PJC school yet? Or didn't they start a driver?
Yes, ma'am. We haven't seen any of those yet. And that's geared towards over-the-road jobs, which is,
So it's not geared to us at all?
no, it is geared to over-the-road type jobs, and those are the type jobs that Dr. Walker
Well-
alluded to that are paying $80,000 a year, so.
Maybe we need to talk to them and get them to gear some to us. Ms. Ritz?
Yeah, you said something that I was going to say too. Make a connection with them. Over the road drivers may get paid more, but they're on the road far away. And they are usually have tremendous work hours associated with the loads they take. And I would see this as a lesser demanding, though I shouldn't say lesser demanding, but a job that would keep them in the community, whereas the other takes them far away.
Yes, ma'am.
I would think that would work.
Yeah, but a lot of drivers are looking at that pay rate. That's, what they're attracted to.
Thank you. I do want to go back to one thing that you said, though, Ms. Ritz, of celebrating the drivers. So could we talk with our public information officers and maybe do something to celebrate our drivers?
Yes, ma'am.
They don't always get the love and affection that, I mean, hey, that's the first Christmas present I look for every year. Is
Something like
truck.
a free beer Friday or something.
Yeah, there you go. But press would go crazy with that.
Before they go out.
Yeah, before they collect garbage. But anyway, yeah, just something, let's celebrate those drivers because, everybody complains when they don't show up, but we don't hear a lot of praise when they do. So I think it would be nice if we did something like that. I remember 2 years ago, the incentive package, I would not vote on the increase until we changed that for 1% to go to incentives. And the drivers are just becoming an issue of getting them to work, to come to work for us. So I think maybe We need to start thinking about ways to get them here. And technology, I think, will help with that as well, you know. When there's an issue, technology will eventually get us routeware that we can, or routeware that we can depend on, Ms. Benson. I
Well,
think-
there's actually a lot of research going on into self-driving garbage trucks. Believe it or not, it is a thing. And that is the main reason they're looking at that, is because of the shortage in drivers.
I'm very happy that the money will be in this. We thought about moving it over to garbage cans because you and I talked about that just recently, that when people hear we buy 7,000 garbage cans a year, they think, oh, good, I might get a new garbage can, but that 7,000 only keeps up with our growth right now, so maybe somebody will get a new garbage can that has had one for a while. And please thank the staff for being guinea pigs for this unsuccessful attempt. Ms. Benson.
I just want to speak up for some of the drivers, because when they are good, they're very, very good. And, you know, I worked out with a young woman whose kids looked forward to the garbage men every day and invited them to their birthday parties. I get calls from people who tell me about drivers doing the extra thing for them, getting the garbage cans for somebody who's been ill or a broken leg or is elderly. And often I get compliments about our drivers. So I want to make sure that we see the big picture, because in many cases they're ambassadors for the ECUA, and that's what we're looking for.
I agree. Ms. Ritz.
How many customers go out and give a hurrah to the driver as they come by and unload the cans? Well, I have been known to go out, and when I hear the truck, I will go out and give them thanks. I just think it's important, because that level of worker, I don't think gets enough recognition. And without them, as I tell them, I would have a big overflowing can.
It is a very tough job, and when you have a good driver, we definitely want to hold on to them. We have a good group of guys and ladies now, and we get, if you look at the amount of homes we service, we get a relatively small number of complaints, but to that customer that's had a negative experience, it's a big deal, and we understand that, and the drivers understand that, and the vast majority of drivers try their best, but it is a difficult job, and people don't understand it. Like I said, there's some streets you wouldn't think a truck could go up and down, and they have to do that, and it is a dirty job at times, and so yeah, they deserve some praise, and there's a lot of them who have a very good relationship with their customers, have been on the routes for years, and they know their customers. And a few years back, we had a lot of drivers retire just because they've reached the 30-year mark, and it's very difficult to replace that experience and knowledge, and it just takes time, and that's where we're in now, the transition to a younger force of drivers.
Thank you, Dr. Walker.
Madam Chairman, I'd like for you to ask Mr. Rudd to go back to the topic of replacement cans. Over the last few months, I've received several complaints about replacement cans being asked for, and days would go by and weeks would go by sometimes before without the can being delivered. What's the status on that now?
Mr. Rudd.
Yes, sir. We typically have a problem at the end of each fiscal year with cans because we've exhausted our budget for cans. We have to spend time transferring money basically to cover costs for purchasing new cans. It's been exacerbated this year because of the growth that we're seeing in new subdivisions, and that we went through cans much faster than we anticipated. And part of the problem has also been the auto contract situation with them on their way out. We're not getting the best customer service out of them, I'll be frank with you. And so that kind of created some of the issues. We now have inventory in stock, and from what I'm told, we're caught up with the orders. So going forward, we should be keeping up with that. We're actually using our staff to supplement Otto to make sure cans are delivered as quickly as possible.
Madam Chairman, I think staff should see to it that we do not run out of cans at the end of toward the end of the fiscal year. That's a pretty simple job that staff should be able to handle, and I think we have some very smart people, Mr. Rudd, Ms. Sheldon, and maybe surely they could get together, and we should be willing to offer, come up with some more bucks so that this problem does not occur of running out of cans at the end of almost every fiscal year. That shouldn't be.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. Do I have anything further? I know it's been particularly difficult this year with all the new subdivisions going in districts 1 and 5, so it's hard to keep up. All right, if nothing further, I believe we have Ms. Benson and Mr. Kimball as a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you, Randy, for all your time today. We move now to item N, informational reports. Does anybody have any questions on the informational reports? Not, we move to unfinished business of the executive director search. I'm sorry, Ms. Ritz, did you have a question?
Wondering what happened to the water report.
Mr.
We
Sorrell.
had water reclamation, but the amount of water used in the various regions, I didn't see that. And also the amount of money given to those who need assistance with paying their bill. I didn't see that report either. So I thought maybe that only comes quarterly or bi-monthly. In the back, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are only presented quarterly, so that's why you didn't get it this time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We move now to Dr. Walker, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What is the situation with regard to a couple of the plants being in the 60% range on the 12-month average of permitted capacity? At 75%, I know we have to start planning for expansion of our capacity. And are we okay with those plants that are in the 60 range right now? Is there any, if not, is there any preparation that we're making to begin worrying about moving up to the 70% range?
Thank you, Dr. Walker. Mr. Sorrell.
Oh, yes, sir. The Biomarcus plant, I believe it's 60, I forget, 60-some percent. But we are looking at that now for expansion of that particular plant. It's rated at 8.2. And we're trying to increase that now to somewhere between 10 and 11.2 MGD. The plant is hydraulically limited at this time. Essentially what that means is we can't send the amount of water through the plant that we need to, and we're looking at ways to change it. It's on a very small footprint, and it's going to be kind of costly. We have a sufficient wetlands area. I think we have 1,000-acre wetlands, so that's not the issue. It's the plant itself is hydraulically limited. So we're looking at ways now, and we're planning on asking for an increase in the capacity of that plant at some undetermined yet time in the future. It's probably not going to be too long. So that plant's going to be underway. The central water reclamation facility shouldn't be a problem at this point. We also have the capability now of redirecting flows in many cases that we didn't have before. So if one plant starts to get overloaded, we have the ability to send it to various other places. So the central water reclamation facility isn't a problem, but it is a modular plant. Essentially what that means, we can add different trains on that plant if we need to. So that was part of the design work. So that one's probably the easy one. The hard one's Biomarcus, but it's being looked at as we speak.
Another comment, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Does not the central plant in particular actually have more capacity than it's officially permitted for, as it stands now?
Mr. Searle?
Yes, it does. It's rated at 22.5, but we have processed as much as 40 to 50 MGD through that plant during storms. So it can process a great deal more, but it's a matter of getting the permit completed. The biggest concern right now is the biomarkers plant. Even that one, though, we've run 12 to 14 through that one when we had to, but we need to upgrade that a little more. So we're working on biomarkers, and I'm not too concerned about Central at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Searle, and thank you for the good question, Dr. Walker. Move now to item O, unfinished business, the executive director search. Mr. Perkins.
Yeah, got some bad news earlier today is that after our executive director search, our number one choice, Rebecca Shelton, his husband was going to move here with her. The job would allow her to transfer, but that turned out not to be the case, and so she's decided to stay put in Georgia. And we had ranked the number 2 candidate, but I didn't think we did it with a unanimous, agreement. There was still a little uncertainty, although I still think the number 2 choice is the best choice. But I just wanted to bring that up, and so that the executive director has some direction from the board, and we can decide, at the Tuesday meeting what we want to do. But I don't want to leave the executive director in a position where he's like, oh, well, the board meeting said this, and that if number 1 fails, we negotiate with number 2, without him clearly knowing whether we want him to do that or not. And so I just thought I'd mention it here, and we could decide on Tuesday, or decide something here if the board wanted to. But I still think, the one we chose for number 2 would be a good selection.
Dr. Walker.
I think it would be a wonderful thing for the members of the committee, the appointed committee members, to enlighten the board members as to what their opinions are in the matter.
Ms. Schneier.
I would like to have a say-so in the executive director decision, since District 3 doesn't really have an official representative right now.
Now would be the time to provide the input, so if you want.
I think the board will be the one to vote, but we welcome your input. So we welcome everyone's input that's on the CAC. You met with these folks, and to answer your question, I wouldn't mind going ahead and voting today.
Yeah.
The board part. I don't know if we can. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Schneier.
So you narrowed down all of the applications to the 4. How many applicants were there total for the executive director decision? And was it the 4 board members who narrowed it down to the 4 executive director applicants?
The 4 board members narrowed it down to 5.
To the 5.
And 1 backed out.
Well, and actually, we hired a professional search firm, and they narrowed down from probably hundreds to maybe, less than that. And then that got, maybe, there may have been a dozen or so, but that got narrowed down to a smaller number. And then the board narrowed it down to 5 that we wanted to interview out of those. So there were probably a number of levels of narrowing before we got to the final. I think we narrowed it down to 5, but only 4 of them interviewed for it. And then of those, I think we ranked number 1, 2, and 3 of what we wanted to choose, and I think the 4th one we just kind of left thinking, we're not going to get that far down the list. And as I recall, now I'm not certain, but I think that Rebecca Shelton was number 1, Bud McCrory was number 2.
Woody was 3. Mr. Woody.
Yeah, Mr. Woody was number 3, and that's the 3 that we basically had.
Ms. Benson.
Well, this process is kind of like the sausage making of all politics, and there was so much unanimity about the number 1 choice that I think we were kind of dazzled. She was a great candidate, and I think that now that she has left, and we wish her well, I would like a chance to look at the next two again, because, you know, you make these decisions in a context. And rather than move to the second, which was not unanimous, I'd just like to perhaps bring back the two or even three if we wanted to. And if we don't feel that we have the perfect fit, we can go back to the field and go through this process again. But I'm not comfortable automatically going to our second choice at this point.
Schneier.
I agree with Mrs. Benson. I think that we need a commitment that they're going to move here before we decide on who to appoint. And we need to know that they are definitely wholeheartedly committed to fulfilling the position and the requirements of the position before we decide on who.
Thank you. Ms. Ben.
Yes, so if I understand it correctly, Ms. Shelton had already accepted the position. So were the other ranked ones, were they notified that, of that
I'm pretty sure they were notified.
situation? Were they all
that they were-
notified? So is there any awareness of where their situations are now? Had they gone on to another
I believe Mr. Searle can answer the
acceptance
question,
of
but they were
another
both, I think
position,
they're both.
or what, or do you even know if they're still available,
I
in
think
other
we've
words?
spoken to them, or staff has, and they're both willing.
Thank you.
Mr. Searle.
Mr. Benzinger has spoke to both of them, the number 2 and number 3 candidate. They're both still available and interested, at least that's what they said. You know, I received a lot of similar comments from the number 1 candidate. You know, when I finished the contract last night at 5 o'clock and sent it out, and then I got a call at 7 o'clock this morning and she withdrew. I was quite surprised, to be honest with you. So, but it happens, and it could happen again. But number 2 and number 3 are still interested. Mr. Benzinger recommends that you get number 2 and 3 in here. You interview them either individually, collectively, or both. And then if you can't select somebody unanimously, then he'll get you additional candidates.
Thank you. Ms. Ritz.
What did you say, the last 2 words? I didn't quite hear. The last 2 words you said.
I don't know what I said.
They said if we can't get someone in here, then we would bring in more.
Okay, bring in more, okay.
Ms.
Which one was from St. Louis?
The third choice.
Woody.
Woody, okay. I spoke with him in depth, and some comments. He has worked with unions before, and some other things, and he, on one-on-one, he was quite talkative. Bud McCoy, McCoy or McCrory?
Corey.
McCory. I did not get a chance to talk with him one-on-one, but I did Rebecca and Mr. Woody. But I think the second and third choice would be a good idea to bring them back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Perkins.
Well, you know, one thing is that I don't think we have to have a unanimous, I mean, you know, as nice as that would be and as idealistic as that is, I don't think we got to keep going until we get a unanimous candidate, because that could be, you know, that could be decades, you know. But I do think that we need to give everybody a chance to look at it and reevaluate them. Now, I don't know that we need to bring them back. I mean, we may, but, you know, and the one person answered the question, I thought, in the open meeting about whether he would relocate here. He said he would. Now, you know, if he didn't, we could fire him. Relocate the family and everything here. Or that could be a condition of the contract. But yeah, you want a solid commitment. So we may or may not, bring them back. I mean, we spent a lot of time and a lot of money getting all those people here and a lot of staff effort and everything. We've met them. And can call them individually and talk with them individually and re-interview them, but I don't know if we need to bring them back. But I would certainly be okay with waiting to the meeting on Tuesday and having further discussion and seeing where to go from there. The one thing I worry about is that we get accused of foot dragging. That we say, look, you guys have been gonna hire an executive director for 7 or 8 months now. Are you really hiring an executive director? And so that's something I think we need to be aware of. Now, I'm not saying we have to rush into a decision on Tuesday or anything, but that, perception could be out there. But I'm flexible as far as waiting. I want everybody to be happy with the executive director that we have. And we had that with the number one pick. And so hopefully we can get to where everybody can feel comfortable enough with whoever we choose that we're okay going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. I'm happy that you brought up we can call them. I was thinking the same thing. I'm gonna pick up the phone and call them all, probably tomorrow morning. But, so I don't have any trouble with that either. Ms. Ben?
Yes, and along those lines, is it possible to video conference with these people so that you could each do that individually or during the board meeting if you needed to do it in full on your Tuesday meeting, if that's a possibility?
Thank you, Ms. Ben.
If the board feels like we need to bring them back and the committee feels like we need to bring them back, we could, but
Yeah.
I think we spent enough money doing that.
Yeah. Ms. Benson?
I like eye contact. I guess I'm kind of a throwback, but these people have been through the process, but this is a different stage of the process. In the overall scheme of things, it's just not that much money to bring them back. And we keep these people around a long time, remember? So, let's kick the tires one more time. And by the way, I don't think anybody would accuse us of dragging our feet. We went through a very well modulated process. We brought them in. We had interviews. We made an offer. We went through I think we acted professionally. But I also think we're expected to give it the thoroughness that it deserves. This is a big job to lead this utility, and I think it's worth another look.
Thank you, Ms. Benson.
Enough said.
That's okay. Ms. Schneier?
I'd like to bring them back. I don't think that you can get the full gamut of what somebody really has to offer from one interview. I'd like to bring them back and interview them all over again, meet them in person again, and let them go through the process again.
Mr. Perkins?
I make a motion that we invite number 2 and number 3 back for follow-up interviews for the position of executive director.
I'll second.
Ms. Ritz?
I was going to say I second that, and I'd like to suggest, I don't know all the questions that were asked first in the private, but I would hope that since Mr. Rudd has quite a bit of offering, I don't know if they are aware of that yet, that they have a different line of questions. Since you've already done one round of focus, I'd like to see a more detailed focus this time.
Something like, how do you feel about being our second choice?
No, I don't think so, because I think with their professionalism, they are used to situations of that type.
Ms. Ritz, we did spend quite a bit of time one-on-one with each one of those candidates as a board. It wasn't just what the CAC was invited to. The board members spent about 45 minutes one-on-one with each candidate, eye to eye. So I didn't know if you knew that or not.
I did. I saw the schedule that was put out.
Okay.
But
It's
still,
so-
I'm going to hammer on. I would like to see some additional topics addressed if they were not addressed first. Especially unions, because of the issue that if you're having a hard time with drivers, you may find the union will step in and try.
Thank you. Dr. Walker?
I didn't know that we would be having motions made and preferences expressed in that manner today. I was just wanting to listen to what people had to say, committee members. But since a motion has been made, I'll say what I'm thinking. I think we should just relax, sit back for say 3 more months. Let Mr. Sorrell continue to serve as our executive director, which I understand that I think that he could be persuaded to do that. And just sit back for about 3 more months and then do another search. We might get another Shelton, someone who looks that good, if we try again in a little while. That's my opinion.
Are you making a motion?
No.
Okay. So, Ms. Benson?
I think we've heard the sense of this. I would like to make a motion a substitute motion to refer this to the board meeting on Tuesday.
Second.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I agree.
Ms. Schneier?
Sorry. I agree with Dr. Walker that we may have to just start the process all over again.
Dr. Walker?
I second Ms. Benson's motion.
Yeah. Right. Just need to vote on the amended motion. Substitute motion, I'm sorry. Substitute motion to refer this to the board meeting. Please vote. And it passes 9-0. Now becomes the main motion. And do we have any further discussion? If not, please vote. Thank you for that, Mr. Perkins. And it passes 9-0. We move now to new business. Do we have any new business? We move now to open forum. Anybody like to speak? If not, we are adjourned.